Our next guest is Sandy, who is in Avalon, of all places. I think we've heard about that a few times today. It's obviously in Somerset. And she works with elemental and celestial rose dragons, the rose being the important part. She is a multifaceted energy alchemist and visionary creative for the divine feminine rose codes and the Rose Alchemy. So I think we're going to be hearing a lot about Rose from Sandy today. I hand over to you, Sandy. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, it feels to me like it's like now for something completely different. Just what is so amazing is the different frequencies of the energies that the dragons connect with. And I have to say that if somebody had said to me a year ago that I would be channeling dragons or being involved with dragon energy, I would have certainly questioned the validity of what was being said. And for most people, they know me as the Rose Lady. I mean, this has been my expression for the last 13 years, since the Roses first started talking to me from the Alhambra in Granada in Spain, which is actually on a very powerful node, energetic node that's connected to the Venusian template. And it just is extraordinary, the journey and the weave of working energetically in what is a soul calling that then brings us into connection with different aspects of the work that want to speak forward. I'm going to show you, just to start with, as a little show and tell. This is a rose dragon that my youngest granddaughter, Otti, made for me a couple of weeks ago. She sits on my altar as an aspect of this consciousness that's coming through at this time that transcends the generations. There is a knowingness, there's a connection and a knowingness that is bringing us home. My journey and the way that I work is a calling to sacred homecoming. And I've worked in this way really since my first powerful awakening in 1993, when I had a full body Christed experience on my way to a Reiki attunement. And that took me, into, a bit like a kid in a candy store with the energetic world, if you like. At the time, I was a couture wedding dress designer. And I worked with silk and antique French textile. I made amazing dresses. And I had a rosemary that ran one of the shops for me, and the women wanted roses on their dresses. So it was just an extraordinary journey of deepening my understanding of energy. And obviously from the Reiki perspective, that was going through in all the work that I did. And I've come to understand that my work is a path of beauty, truth, and love. It's about illuminating this pathway home to ourselves. And my work has over the last 20 odd years has taken me from working internally, working to open the rose heart, to activate the rose heart, and this curiosity about our stories and how they lodge, how we hold on to our stories, but also the stories that we have running in our houses, in our spaces. And it was that curiosity really that has taken me out on the journey beyond the wedding frocks and into the energy of spaces, our relationship, the psychology of spaces and our connection to our homes, but also to do with the sacred currents in the landscape. And the roses at the Alhambra had called me for some years before I had the opportunity to go visit the Alhambra. And it was there that the roses in the rose garden started to speak. And the Alhambra is on a Venus temple. She's on one of the 7 Venus temples on the planet, connected to the planet Venus, not goddess Venus per se. And it was really a deepening understanding, as I say, of the sacred geometry and the connection that we have with the energy of land and the importance of the frequency coding of the land that we live on and we stand on. And I think it's been said, you know, that many of us have been moved about. We've been relocated to places where there is a resonant frequency. But when we connect down through the body into the Earth Star is like a docking station. It holds our coding for our incarnational script this lifetime, like the Soul Star holds our Akashic records and our connection to higher dimensional aspects of ourselves. When we connect into the Earth Star, we have the opportunity to start to listen to the consciousness of Gaia. We have the opportunity to have a different understanding of our relationship here and our relationship to the land. So my work has taken me on to work primarily with clients and their spaces and helping them to understand and connect in with that template, understanding the story of their spaces, how that's impacting on their own soul's evolutionary pathway, but also using the rose to really fully activate the heart, the rose heart of our homes and our own connection with our spaces. And we are in uncertain times. We are we are moving into a place that is, yet we haven't journeyed in body. To be able to spiritualize the physical was part of the ancient mystery school technologies. But we are being asked now to be fully 100% physical and 100% spiritual. And that was the gift of the wisdom of Mary Magdalene. It was she who whispered through the Rose Mystica, the mystery of love at the heart of the rose. That is this path of homecoming, this path of homecoming to self. So I, like many, have heard this calling and have heard this energy of being moved location. And I've spent most of my life in the New Forest in Hampshire, in the UK. And a year ago, through a series of doorways opening and no other doorways opening, if you know what I mean, it was a no optioner, I found myself relocating 2 hours west to bring me onto a template, a temple space that was familiar to me from many, many lifetimes ago. A pathway of connection into Avalon that took me not necessarily into the energy of the tour, which my guides say has a complex energy, shall we say, but to connect with an energy of a sacred site here called Burrow Mump. And Burrow Mump is on the Michael-Mary line. So the Michael-Mary line, for those of you that are not in the UK and not familiar with part of the energy lines for the UK, this is an energy that rises from St. Michael's Mount down in the very west tip of Cornwall and comes up sort of diagonally across the country, exiting on the east coast. And it's a sinuous weave of the Michael-Mary energies, these Michael-Mary currents. And Burrow Mump, interestingly, is the last crossing point before Glastonbury Tour. And I knew not long after I'd arrived on the land that Burrow Mump was calling really loudly. Now I had done some work and connection with another sacred site here called Knowlton Henge. So I was aware of the dragon energies. I was aware of the energy currents. And I had also connected with a geobiologist called Rory Duff. And Rory Duff speaks of the energetic lines within the earth and the node points on these sacred sites. and how when we come to harmony time, which he saw in the period of time between the solstices, around the solstices and the equinoxes, that the energetic lines come into what he calls harmony time. But interestingly, and this is where his work and mine sort of overlapped, is that he saw that when these two energy currents came into balance, that a rose opened at the node point. Now, for years with my work, I've been working with the Rose Oracle for the Heart that came as a result of my journey in the Alhambra. And these are some of the roses. They're all my photographs, and they whispered messages through an energy calling herself Lady Nada. And I'm sure that some of you on the call will be familiar with Lady Nada. She's the overlighting soul of Mary Magdalene. And so Lady Nada was the guiding light for the bringing together of the Rose Oracle. But in that process, there are 11 roses in the Rose Oracle that when they are set on a grid, on an energy grid on the body, a healing balancing grid on the body, when you douse the chakras, they show a preference, an orientation of preference, i.e., that there is an energy that is working predominantly feminine or predominantly masculine on the weave. And this will come as being important once you start to see where this opens to. So I had seen this when I was working with people on the body, that these were rose gates, what I was calling rose gates. And when the rose cards, the rose frequencies were put on the body, and I doused the body again, the pendulum spun both ways, showing me that in effect, what had happened was that the chakras or the rose gates had become Christed. They had become a complete and utter balance, reminding the chakra of its original blueprint and its optimum frequency and balance. So here we go back to Burrow Mump. And I knew Burrow Mump was on the Michael Mary line, as I say. And I went and stood in connection, in meditation at Burrow Mump, not expecting, no expectation. In fact, it's quite a climb to get up to Burrow Mump. It's an adventure in itself. Anyway, I stood quite peacefully at Burrow Mump, and I could hear a hum deep in the earth. And Burrow Mump is a church with the roof is gone, so the main body of the church is just a ruin. And then there is a tower, much like there is on the tour, but not quite as big. And the church is dedicated to St. Michael. So you can start to see where the frequency alignments were here. And so standing in the tower, I was drawn to go and stand in the tower and hum the note that I had heard emanating from the mump. And all of a sudden, the tower started pulsing. And if I went off note, it went dead again. Went on note, tower pulsed. And so I moved back out and stood where I sensed was the node point on Burrow Mump, and connected in, as I would do normally, connecting in from my heart star, the higher heart energy that weaves the threefold flame. Yeah, I'll speak of that later. And the soul star connecting in with Source, Great Spirit, alignment, down through into the Earth star. And all of a sudden, I was aware of energies coming in on that, connecting in on that Earth star. And they felt to be emanating from even deeper down through to the Gaia Gateway. So for me, there's the Earth star, which connects us into the crystalline grids of the earth. As I say, it's a docking station. Our base second chakra is foundated onto that earth star energy. Down below the earth star is an energy center called the Gaia Gateway that says she's not for the faint of heart. You pass her portal, and it's a beautiful portal of golden light to go down and touch the crystalline core of the earth. If you have the coding to be able to pass through that energy. And when you connect with the crystalline core of the earth, she brightens very slightly to acknowledge your presence. So I did my normal connecting in, as I say, and I could feel these energies connecting in on the dragon lines, on the song lines, the dragon song lines of the earth under my feet at Burrow-Mump. And I knew Burrow-Mump was special, and I knew Burrow-Mump was connected to Rosslyn and also connected with the Alhambra. She's on almost a minute off of the longitude line that runs from Rosslyn to the Alhambra. So I'm stood connecting in, and I hear, because I'm clairsentient and clairaudient. Today, I'm not clairvoyant. I might be tomorrow, but I'm not today. I'm clairsentient and clairaudient. And I could hear this voice saying, we are the elemental rose dragons. And we are here from the 5D heart of Gaia. We are wisdom keepers. We are high frequency, loving hearted beings. And we have come to co-create with humanity once again. And they told me that humanity had, the frequency of humanity had fallen to such a degree that they could no longer co-create with humanity, and that they'd either gone underground or they'd gone to the Pleiades. And that we should see at this point that there was an elevation in humanity that meant there was a readiness for a reconnection with the dragon codes of light. You know, I'm like, this is interesting. Who on earth am I going to be able to tell about this? So it's like, but they didn't go away. It's like they didn't go away. And they formed themselves in a grid. So these were the grids that came up together in the diamond light of the because my rose cards, my rose oracle, this actually is the Earth Star. This is the Earth Star Rose from the Rose Oracle. So it is the heart of the rose that allows me the portal of connection, that allows me to hear the consciousness and the messaging of that particular rose. I mean, this is the soul star. She's like a golden explosion of energy that again offers wisdom, transformation, and an activation. So you might as well see that one while I'm at it as well. This is the Stellar Gateway, a luminous, almost otherworldly energy that has got this divine spin that takes us safely into Akasha. This is the thing with the roses. The roses are pure love. They have no other agenda. All they want to do is to bring us home to the rose heart. They want to bring us home to the fullness of who we are, so that we are in this vertical alignment, connecting heaven on earth, that we are the bridge, we are the consciousness bridge, whether we're weaving Solar Logos and Sophia, whether it's great, mother, father energy, whatever our language is for it. that this is, lost one of my, no, they're not, there we go. So when I got back, they said to me, there are 5 roses that are to be the activating portals for us. So this was the rose that came forward, and she is the elemental rose dragon of the earth. And she connects us in to the wisdom of the earth, the foundation, the sense of substance of the earth, allowing us to feel rooted, allowing us to feel grounded in presence on the earth. This is the elemental rose dragon of the air. And the elemental rose dragon of the air asks us to be inspired and to be activated so that we're not a passive, we're not caught in the doldrums, we're not passive in our journey here, that we can be grounded and present and yet alive, activated and dynamic. This is the rose dragon of the waters, effervescent. And interestingly, this is a rose that's actually called Mary Magdalene. This is a bubbling, effervescent energy that asks us to be fully present and in the flow of our lives. This is the this is the elemental rose dragon of the fire. And she asks for us to be illumined and passionate about being here. And for many people I know, like me, have, I've struggled to be embodied. I got into meditation in 93 to get out of my body, not in it. When we've had trauma in the back catalogue, in the childhood catalogue, actually being present in body and trusting this process to come fully embodied, to come fully present, is tricky. So here we go. We come back in. We have to be fully present. And this is the elemental rose dragon of the ethers. Now, don't ask me how a diamond rose happened to get into my stash, but she did. And I photographed her several years ago. She was on the boundary of a house that I lived in the New Forest. These energies offer us a deeper, deeper insight into our connection with ourselves. The earth, Mother Earth, through the elemental rose dragons, is asking us to connect in with the very essence of her nature, the very fundamental substance of her elements, earth, air, fire, and water. And very interestingly, that is absolutely everything that this physical vessel is. Every molecule of this body is of the earth. I am made up of earth, air, fire, and water. And the dragons, the elemental rose dragons, are asking us to fully connect, to really understand the wisdom of Gaia and the Gaian fields, understand the gift in our human journey, and to be really able to honor the elemental energies that is the very essence of her, and understand that this vessel is absolutely of her elements, and it's animated by spirit. It's animated by Great Spirit. So alongside these 5 elemental rose dragons, I have been brought 13 celestial dragons that are still waiting in the wings. They are 12 around the one. And that one, the all that is, connects in with the ether dragon. And these dragons tell me that they are a unified field. They don't hold polarity. They are They are completely unified within each element. But when they rise from the Earth star and they rise around the ether dragon, because they connect in with the Ida, the Pingala, and the Shushamna. Those of you that have worked with yoga or with any of the esoteric arts will know these three energies that work up through the body. The Ida, the feminine principle, the lunar principle, the cooling principle, connects in with the elemental rose dragons of the earth and the water. The Pingala, the masculine, the yang, the solar energy, works with the elemental rose dragons of the air and the fire. And they weave their magic around the Shushamna, this central column of light, the Pranic pillar, which holds the energy of the elemental rose dragon of the ethers. So that where they cross at the chakra points, the chakra becomes balanced, becomes aligned. And what that does is it raises a bioplasmic field of liquid light through the body that then merges out and activates the light body and moves our carbon-based body into a crystalline body. This ether dragon is crystalline. She is totally aligned and will raise us right up. I mean, this is the Kundalini energy. This is the life force that brings us into an illumined heart, that lights the flame of the heart, that allows us to be illuminators and way showers for this time to come. This weave, this sacred weave, goes on up to the pineal gland, this interdimensional rose gate, which opens us out to what would be called in the Christic tradition these 12 stars on the crown of the Great Mother that connect us into the galactic realms, connect us in to this more cosmic aspect of self. But they say that first we have got to be solid, we have got to be grounded, we have got to be presenced in body before we can start to dance in the galactic realms, because otherwise we've got nothing that we can anchor, that we can bring these keys and codes of light and these activations that these celestial rose dragons can offer, if we are not completely and utterly woven into the dance of the five elements. And Mary Magdalene was a master. She was a master of the rose codes, the rose dragon codes of consciousness. She was a master of the elements, a master weaver of the elements, as was Mother Mary, as was anyone that is trained within the ancient mystery school teachings. When you work with the herbs, when you work as a miraphor, when you work as a transformer, an energetic code holder. This is what the energy is doing. This is where the transformation comes when we move into this alignment. And the elemental rose dragons are pure heart. All they are asking us is to be open to the sacred weave, to open to the magic of what they can offer us, what they can bring us for these times. And when we are full, when we are able to hold this balance of the energies, we can be illuminators for others, but we also can see crystal clear our own path and our frequency and what we're being asked to hold here. Because Gaia can't has had to wait till there were enough of us that were illumined beings before she has been fully able to activate, because she says, if I had raised my frequency, there would be too many that would have been fried. So we've been moved to the perfect places. We have been moved to the locations where we are being asked to anchor, like acupuncture points of light, these keys and codes, so that we can be in service to this next level of the activation that's coming. We are moving through turbulent times as we move through these next few months, and we are being asked to anchor this in body now. It is the most extraordinary point that we are in. I don't know how much longer I have. I think probably about 7 or 8 minutes. But I thought I would read you some of the channeled pieces that have come in from the dragons. Who thought I'd have channeled dragon? I certainly wouldn't have done. But if you can channel Rose, you can channel dragon. If you can channel Lady Nada, you can channel dragon. And in fact, it wasn't only Lady Nada. I had the Master Yeshua, I had Mother Mary, and I had a Merlin, who was part of my weave of my journey, because it was a Merlin that had led me to Avalon 2,000 years ago for the activation of the Order of the White Rose with Mary Magdalene in Avalon. And it was a Merlin that had shown up every so often to point me in the right direction, because of course we didn't have sat nav and we didn't have mobile phones then. So oh my days, who would have thought? Anyway, I will read you. So this was in November last year. This one came through, and this was she said, we have been part of the earth since her birthing. We are elemental currents of activity in life, bounteous, playful, and together wholesome and holy in our presence. We are loving and benign aspects of primal presence that offer insight into the fullness of the sensual experience on the earth plane. Take time to appreciate the essence of each of us and our individual nature. We, the Rose Dragons, come as a response to the heart of an individual who has reached that place of frequency alignment within the heart and point of journey in sacred homecoming to true self and source God. Many working with the tantric arts will engage with our currents of energy, but we say that this is the first time a conscious connection to all four of us beyond the essence of spirit will rise together. This bridging will be of great service to both the human field and heart and the Gaian field and heart activation. They are the most extraordinarily powerful and beautiful energies to work with. And when they first started to speak like this, I had a 5-week journey that I offered in January, each week working with a different element of their presence. And I'm being called to offer that again as another live 5-week journey. So on the Rose Alchemy site, you'll see lots of feedback from the participants, and there were 40 on the journey with me in January. You'll see feedback from the participants. I've actually got a group running at the moment that is a 5-month container of a deepy dive into the elements. And honestly, I can only say for myself that each time we switch an element, I get another learning, I get another piece of my own storyline that gets illumined by the Rose Dragons. And it's an ongoing piece of work. But it's interesting, this next 5-weeker completes on the 8/8 Lions Gate. Honestly, you can't make this stuff up. I had no idea until I checked this morning. I just booked it in because that's what the guidance was, to book it in. And if I've just got a minute, I will share the wisdom of the Rose Dragon of the Ethers. And she says, "Greetings, beloved one. At last my voice comes to be heard," because the other four had spoken first in the journey. "For it is known, yes, that all I offer here is an issuance from my Rose Dragon heart to yours. For I am one with the radiant heart of Gaia. I have long been her protector at the very core of her being. This is where I arise from to connect with you today." This surprises you, For in truth, I am an aspect of all that is and all that shall be. Feel into my very essence and my strength. Feel the balance of my nature, the clarity and the purpose. This is indeed the invitation I offer you to know this within. The four elemental rose dragons with whom you have already communed are aspects of my expression and they mine, for we are entwined one to the other. We of dragon consciousness are called once more into active service in the upliftment of the human interaction with life itself. So much has been lost in the passage of time. So much of the magnificence of the human potential and experience here in co-creation on the earth has been lost in the sensory distraction that abounds in these times. We are joyous to witness these true powers and wisdoms returning once again to those open and resonant to connection. We remind you, you are in the midst of a consciousness revolution, a reawakening of your ancient connection to the Gaian fields. Beloved one, you are indeed a Gaian being, and yet at one with the cosmos, as indeed am I, for I bridge the worlds, a sacred weaver in time, you may say. I offer those who resonate with the true heart of the Rose Dragon frequency to call upon me as needed, for I am here in service to your evolution, in service to you stepping forward and taking your rightful place in these times of great turbulence upon the earth. It was always known at this time that all that is rigid must be shaken, for humanity must awaken from its slumber. So I arise from the heart of Gaia to connect along with my fellow elemental rose dragons as they weave their way along the dragon songlines of the earth, to connect and share their wisdom for these times here, to encourage you onwards. Some would call my energy crystalline for its purity and service. It is true, for I am both purifier and activator. It is for you too to be crystal clear in all your endeavors. This also is our gift to you. Together we rise.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you very much. We've got a few questions from people. Somebody said, do you work with rose essential oil? And if so, how?
I anointed myself in proxy to everybody on the group. I work with an energetically charged Egyptian rose oil, and I work with it as a sacred blessing and an anointment. I work with it on the wrists. I draw a line on the wrists, cross the wrists over, and breathe it into the heart, and then move it through the auric field.
Beautiful. And then someone said, what is the significance of the beautiful rose behind you?
She is she's Heart Star 2, and she is a rose that is part of the higher heart aspects of the oracle. And she says, I am wisdom. I hold the gold ray of wisdom. And yeah, she's a beaut.
She is huge, gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then one more question. Is there such frequencies as rainbow rose dragons?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, because they hold such a broad spectrum of frequency. It's not one that's come to me. but then, you know, they come in frequency alignment to the spectrum of vibration that you carry. And this is why they said they came as elemental rose dragons, because of the rose consciousness that is I'm a vehicle for here.
Beautiful. Well, that's all the questions. I think everyone's saying they want to grow a rose garden now and things like that. Oh,
Perfect. The rose garden was the place of the lovers. You know, the Sufi mystics waxed lyrical about the rose. And I mean, the rose's sacred geometry is the frequency of love.
Sounds beautiful. Oh, there's another question. What is the connection between Queen Yen Lotus and Mary Magdalene Rose? Do you know?
The lotus and the rose are east and west. They hold the same frequency. So the pathway of compassion that that Kuan Yin holds is exactly the same as the pathway of compassion that Mother Mary holds, but she holds it through the rose. Kuan Yin holds it through the lotus.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sandy. That was lovely. I've always loved roses, and I want my own rose bush now.
Gorgeous.
Thank you very much for your time. There's no more questions, and if there are any, also we'll let people know. And I've shared your website, so I'm sure there'll be lots of people wanting to buy your cut. Oh, one more question. How is red rose different than white one?
They hold a different polarity of energy. The red rose for me is very much connected to base chakra and connected to the Magdalene. If you go to white rose, crown chakra, and she's connected to Mother Mary. And this is the polarity of the good girl, bad girl. You know, when we bring it to the unified field of the heart, we weave the two together, and that's where the magic is. So, you know, these energies, the symbolism is just beautiful. And it's not that, you know, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene hold that kind of polarity in themselves, but it is that symbolism. And this is the weaving of the homecoming. You know, how many of us as women have been told to be a good girl? You know, where do we come in body? Where do we come juicy, and where do we come in body?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sandy.
Thank you.